Next week's Six Nations rugby match between Ireland and Italy has been postponed because of concerns over COVID-19. Italy is experiencing the biggest outbreak of coronavirus outside of Asia. 322 people are infected, while 12 people have now died. Within the last hour, the head of Ireland's Rugby Football Union said they will work to reschedule the affected matches.
We had a very positive meeting with Minister Harris and his advisers where we requested an instruction as to the staging of the Ireland v Italy international matches over the weekend of 6th to 8th May. At the meeting we were informed that the National Public Health Emergency Team has determined that the series of matches should not proceed in the interests of public health. The IRFU is perfectly happy to comply with this instruction. We will immediately begin to work with our Six Nations partners to look at the possibility of rescheduling those three matches and would hope to have an update on that in the coming days.
Well, let's speak to our Ireland correspondent, Stephen Murphy. Stephen, it's interesting, isn't it? In the last few weeks since this outbreak, we've seen the fall of a number of key sporting events, and it seems like Rugby Six Nations is next.
Yeah, I mean, the writing had been on the wall, really, for this event since yesterday afternoon when we saw the Minister for Health, Simon Harris. That's who Philip Brown was referencing there, the Minister for Health here in Ireland, Simon Harris. He had said that it was now the Irish government's view that this match should not go ahead. And ever since then, it was very difficult to see how the Irish Rugby Football Union could come to any other conclusion other than to call this match off. However, they were clearly a little unhappy about how the information had been communicated. On his way into that meeting, Philip Brown said it was unfair that the burden fell on the IRFU alone to make this decision. They were inside here at the Department of Health in Dublin for about an hour or so, thrashing out the details. He emerged, as you saw there, he gave quite a short statement to the assembled media, but the key point, obviously, is that this match, the Six Nations game between Ireland and Italy, which was scheduled to take place here in Dublin on March the 7th, is now off. Also, the women's matches and the under-21s game as well, they have been postponed as well. They won't be cancelled entirely, as you heard there. Philip Brown will be working with the Six Nations tournament organisers to try and find a way to postpone this. There is some sort of precedent for this. Back in 2001, the Six Nations was hit by the foot and mouth disease crisis, and several games were postponed right down as far as the autumn. Ireland ended up playing matches in September and October that year to complete the tournament. So I would imagine they will be looking very hard at postponing rather than an outright cancellation, but it certainly raises questions as well about other games in the tournament. England are due to travel to Italy the following weekend to play Italy in Rome. I imagine the authorities would now be looking very closely at that. We also asked Simon Harris as well about the St. Patrick's Day festivities. It's a huge event here in Ireland. 500,000 people will line the Dublin streets here to watch the parade. What is the Irish government going to do about that? Will they allow that sort of mass gathering to go ahead? He said that the situation wasn't quite comparable because for the Italy game, about 2,500–3,000 Italy fans have made arrangements to come here. And don't forget, rugby in Italy has its stronghold in the north of the country, so he said the threat was much more present for that event rather than St. Patrick's Day. That is a little bit further down the line, but certainly as of now, and as we expected, the Ireland v Italy game in the Six Nations is off.